A Patriot missile battery costs $1 billion. The bomb it cannot reliably stop costs $24,000. That gap is not a malfunction or an intelligence failure. It is the story of how Russia changed the war in Ukraine with an idea so simple it should have been obvious. And why the most expensive military alliance in history still does not have a reliable answer to it. Russia entered Ukraine in February 2022, expecting the war to last days. It lasted longer. As the conflict ground into fixed front lines and attritional warfare, Russia faced a problem that no amount of military doctrine had fully prepared it for. Destroying Ukrainian fortifications, bunkers, and defensive positions at scale required mass. Cruise missiles worked. They were precise, they were effective, and they cost between $1 million and $3 million each. Russia burned through its cruise missile stockpile faster than its factories could replace them. By mid-2022, the shortage was real and getting worse. Russia needed another option. That option had been sitting in warehouses since the Soviet era. The FAB series of unguided gravity bombs had been manufactured by the millions during the Cold War. The FAB 500 weighed 500 kilograms. The FAB 1500 weighed 1500 kilograms. The FAB 3000 carried 1,400 kilograms of TNT, roughly the explosive equivalent of 70 Hellfire missiles in a single bomb. Russia had enormous stockpiles of all of them. The problem was accuracy. An unguided bomb dropped from high altitude lands hundreds of meters from its target. If you drop it accurately from low altitude, the aircraft enters Ukrainian air defense range and gets shot down. The FAB series was powerful, but essentially useless in a contested airspace without a solution to the guidance problem. The solution already existed on paper. Russia's Basalt Design Bureau had proposed it in 2002. It was called the UMPK, a Universal Gliding and Correcting Module. It had never been urgently needed before. In January 2023, the first UMPK-equipped bombs appeared on the battlefield in Ukraine. The UMPK kit costs approximately $20,000. It adds two components to a bomb that was designed in the 1950s. One, folding wings that extend after release and generate lift. Two, a GLONASS satellite navigation module that guides the bomb to a set of coordinates. That is the entire modification. A dumb bomb from the Soviet era becomes a precision glide weapon for the cost of a used car. The aircraft carrying it, typically a Su-34 fighter bomber, flies at 10 to 12,000 meters altitude and 35 to 50 kilometers behind the front line. At that distance, it is outside the effective range of most Ukrainian air defense systems. It releases up to 4 UMPK-equipped bombs per sortie. The wings unfold. The satellite navigation locks onto the target. The bomb glides silently for 60 to 70 kilometers. There is no engine noise. There is no exhaust trail. It arrives with almost no warning. Ukraine's short-range air defense cannot reach the aircraft at launch distance. Long-range systems can attempt to intercept the bomb in flight, but a gliding bomb the size of a refrigerator, traveling at several hundred kilometers per hour at varying altitudes, is a difficult target. The Patriot system was designed to intercept ballistic missiles and aircraft. Intercepting a slow, low-radar cross-section glide bomb at scale is a different problem. It is a problem that a $1 billion battery was not optimized to solve cheaply. Each Patriot interceptor missile costs around $4 million. Using it against a $24,000 bomb is not a sustainable exchange. By late 2023, the effects on the battlefield had become impossible to ignore. The city of Avdiivka in the Donetsk region had been a fortified Ukrainian position for nearly a decade. Its defenders had built layered defensive lines, reinforced positions, and supply networks hardened against conventional artillery, Russia began its assault on Avdiivka in October 2023. At the peak of the offensive, 60 to 80 glide bombs were hitting the city every single day. The commander of Ukraine's 3rd Brigade described the effect on the messaging platform Telegram. These bombs completely destroy any position. All buildings and structures simply turn into a pit after the arrival of just one. Ukrainian soldiers who had adapted to artillery over years of warfare described the glide bombs as something categorically different. A soldier from the 46th Airmobile Brigade spoke to CNN from the nearby town of Krasnohorivka. Previously, we were only shelled with artillery. Now, they use the FAB 1500. If you survive, you are guaranteed to have a contusion. Not all of our guys can withstand it. While they are more or less used to the FAB 500, the FAB 1500 is hell. The concussion effect was creating a casualty type that artillery had rarely produced at this scale. The shock wave from a FAB 1500 detonating in an urban environment was powerful enough to incapacitate soldiers who were not directly hit by fragmentation. Entire units were being rotated off the line, not because of wounds, but because of the accumulated neurological effect of repeated blast exposure. In February 2024, Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief General Syrsky officially cited the glide bombs as a primary reason for the decision to withdraw from Avdiivka. There was a shortage of infantry and ammunition, and no reliable way to stop the bombs from above. The city fell after 4 months of the heaviest aerial bombardment in Europe since the Second World War. Russia did not stop at the FAB 500. As the program scaled, heavier variants entered service. The FAB 3000 carries 1,400 kilograms of TNT. Its fragmentation radius is 260 meters. That's 3 city blocks in every direction from the point of impact. Missing a target by 50 meters with the FAB 3000 still kills everyone inside the nearest building. Missing by 100 meters still produces catastrophic structural damage across an entire city block. The accuracy requirement that had made unguided bombs obsolete in contested urban warfare was effectively nullified by the size of the warhead. Precision mattered less when the weapon destroyed everything within a quarter of a kilometer of wherever it landed. By early 2025, Russia was dropping 3,500 UMPK-equipped bombs per month. By January 2026, that number had risen to 5,700, a monthly record. On a single day in October 2025, 268 glide bombs were dropped in 24 hours. The industrial logic behind those numbers was straightforward. Russia had warehouses full of Soviet-era bombs that would otherwise sit unused. The UMPK kit required no factory upgrade, no advanced manufacturing capability. It could be fitted to existing bomb stocks in field conditions. The limiting factor was not technology. It was production speed for the kit itself. The concept was simple and scalable. When Ukrainian forces began recovering UMPK debris from impact sites, engineers examined the components inside the guidance module. What they found created a problem that extended well beyond the battlefield. The navigation and control systems of Russia's most effective weapon in Ukraine contained components from Texas Instruments, from Intel, and from Taoglas, an Irish electronics company. Across the recovered samples, parts from 22 separate companies were identified. 10 of those companies were American. Russia was building the weapon that was collapsing Ukrainian defensive lines using Western semiconductor components acquired through sanctions gaps, front companies, and third-country intermediaries. By early 2026, the United Kingdom had sanctioned only 7% of the identified component producers. The chips inside the bomb that was winning the war in Ukraine were still being manufactured in Texas and shipped to Russia through routes that Western governments had not fully closed. Ukraine was not passive in the face of the glide bomb campaign. Electronic warfare units began jamming GLONASS satellite signals in front-line areas. When the satellite navigation was disrupted, the UMPK's backup inertial navigation system took over. But inertial navigation drifts. Ukrainian forces reported that effective jamming forced Russia to use up to 16 bombs per target to achieve the same result that one accurately guided bomb would achieve. That increased expenditure per target, but it did not stop the campaign. Russia simply dropped more bombs. In October 2025, Ukraine tested a drone radar artificial intelligence interception system that claimed to have destroyed over 100 glide bombs in 2 months. Against 5,700 bombs per month, 100 interceptions represents under 2% of the total. Ukraine also began reverse engineering the UMPK from captured hardware. In June 2025, a Ukrainian contractor called KB Medoid unveiled a domestically produced version compatible with Fab 500 bombs, with a range of 60 kilometers. The country being bombed had earned to build the bomb being used against it. None of these responses stopped the campaign. They raised the cost of individual strikes and forced tactical adaptations. The fundamental problem remained unsolved. Russia did not stop developing the UMPK after it proved effective. By late 2025, a new variant had appeared on the battlefield. The UMPB-5R replaced the passive glide wings with a small jet engine, a compact Chinese-manufactured turbine. The range extended from 60 to 70 kilometers to an estimated 200 kilometers. At 200 kilometers, the aircraft releasing the bomb no longer needs to approach anywhere near the front line. At 200 kilometers, the city of KYIV becomes reachable from Russian-controlled territory without the release aircraft crossing into contested airspace. The weapon that started as a $20,000 guidance kit for a Soviet bomb sitting in a warehouse has evolved in less than 3 years into a standoff cruise missile with a fraction of a cruise missile's cost. Russia's Royal United Services Institute estimated production of UMPK-equipped bombs at 75,000 units for 2025, a 50% increase from 2024. France's entire annual production of its comparable AASM Hammer guided munition in 2025 was roughly equivalent to Russia's weekly glide bomb output. The most expensive military alliance in history was being outproduced in a critical weapon category by a country under sanctions, using old bombs from Soviet warehouses and guidance kits assembled from Western chips. Russia did not invent a new weapon. It found an old one in a warehouse, spent $20,000 on a kit, and changed the war. The technology was not revolutionary. The idea was not classified. The components came from Western companies. The bombs themselves were manufactured during the Cold War by a country that no longer exists. What Russia understood, and what the UMPK demonstrated at a scale impossible to ignore, was that mass and cost matter as much as capability in a sustained land war. A weapon system that costs $24,000 and can be produced at 75,000 units per year defeats assumptions built on weapons that cost millions and are produced in the hundreds. Ukraine still does not have a reliable answer to the glide bomb campaign. NATO still does not have a production model that matches Russia's output of cheap precision weapons. The jet-powered 200-kilometer variant is already in the field. Jet-powered capability extends the standoff range and changes how the campaign is prosecuted. The warehouses that supplied the original Fab stockpiles are not unlimited, but Russia began building new production capacity for the bombs themselves before the UMPK campaign reached its current scale. The cheap idea defeated the expensive assumption, and the expensive assumption has not yet figured out what to do about it.